In this tutorial, we're going to demonstrate how you can be able to use Schoology, not necessarily just for giving exams and quizzes, but how students can be able to take practice exams and quizzes. And using the program that we talked about last year, which was the ExamView software that has a very robust test banks that you can use for students to take practice tests. Now, this also will work too if you want to be able to create your own tests or own test banks in ExamView for when you want your kids to be able to take an exam to be able to see kind of what like an upcoming test is going to look like. So this is the course that I'm in. I have a demo course that I have set up, my math class that I have, and I want to be able to put a test inside here that the students can take and not be graded, not be associated with a grade book, but just simply so that they can be able to take a bunch of questions and be able to get the answers back to be able to see what they got right and wrong and why. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep this open, but I'm going to jump over to the program ExamView. And under ExamView, here's the test builder. I'm going to create a new test. Now I can do this with an existing one, but I'm going to show you with a brand new test. I'm going to go to create a new test wizard. I'm going to call this a science demo test, or how about the science practice test. Now, when I'm in here, you can see it's going to take you to a series of folders here, learning series samples and so forth. You're going to want to go to the learning series folder. And inside here, you got other folders, California Standards, Common Core, Next Generation Science. So I'm going to go to the Next Generation Science, and you're going to see within all of these ones that there's a fair amount of test banks that we that came with the ExamView software that we got. So I'm going to say, let's go to my NGSS 6 through 8. Double click onto there, and here we see we got Earth Science, Life Sciences, Physical Sciences. I'm going to go to Life Science, click Select. And now let's drop down into here. Let me see how many questions that I can include in here. It says, hey, I have 52 multiple choice I can pick from, 65 bimodal. Like, there's a lot of them in here. Let's just say of the multiple choice, I'm only going to do this a multiple choice one. I'm going to say, let's give me 25 of those. And you can select all or pick whatever number you like. Now I have 25 multiple choice questions in this test. And I said, create test. And now here comes one of these exams in ExamView. I'm not necessarily going to use these for one of my existing tests, but these are some of the same skills and concepts that I want my students to know about. So now I want them to be able to take this, but now this is still here in ExamView. I want to be able to move this over into Schoology. So here's a couple steps to be able to follow along. I think I've showed in the past about how to be able to convert this into an exam that you want them to actually take to be part of the grade book. And so I'm going to show you the two differences. Under here, under File, we're going to go to the Export feature. I'm going to show you two of these things. If you want this test to show up and be a file that you can use that the kids will take as a quiz or a test in Schoology, you would go to Export and click on the Blackboard file. And it doesn't necessarily matter which one. That is going to take this entire test, put it into a file called a zip file, and then from there you're going to import that under the questions in a new test. And then all of the questions will now go into there. And that's a fantastic tool, but I'm not going to necessarily demonstrate that today. What I want to be able to show you guys is how we can be able to use this as a study guide. So we're going to go up here a couple to this one. We're going to export this as an HTML or a web page. So when I click on HTML, I have two choices. Do I want this to be a test that's going to live somewhere else? No. I want this to be a study guide. Okay, so having study guide turned on, and you can choose to turn these things on or off, and it depends on, in the test itself, how much information is in there in terms of rationale and feedback, but I want students to get as much information back on this. Okay, so that's what's going to go out. I'll click OK. I need to put this someplace, and I'm going to call this Science Demo, and hit save. From here now I'm going to minimize my windows, and I need to get to my desktop where I save this. I'm going to show you over here where it is. It created two files. It created a file, a web page called Science Demo, and this is essential too. You're also going to have a folder that will be right next to it. This is a folder that has all of the files that are necessary. Images, like you can see here, it's going to be talking about some cells and some you got a pumpkin and such, that these are the graphics that are going to go with this. These are needed and are essential. So I have to keep these two things together. And what we're going to do in Schoology is we need to be able to point to these, but we can't point it to two separate files, so they need to be put together. So here's what we're going to have to do is you're going to have to highlight these two. Then you need to zip them together. And so that is simply done by keeping your mouse over on top of them. Right click. I'm going to go to Send To. And now I can see a choice here that says compressed folder, which is a zipped folder. And now a new one will be created here. And it's called Science Demo Files. I can change the name of this one. I'm going to call this Science Test Practice Questions. This is for what the students will see, and it'll be easy for me to remember. Okay, so now I have 3 different things here. I really don't necessarily need these anymore. This is what Schoology is going to be pointing to, so I want to remember the name. Science Test Practice Questions. All right, so now for our last step, I'm going to go back over to my Schoology course. I'm going to go to my materials, and I want to add a material. Now, many of you have added folders, assignments, and there's the tests and quizzes. This is what you would want to do, like I mentioned before, if you wanted to be able to export this out as a test, and that this is one that kids would actually take that could go into the gradebook. But we're going to do something different. We're going to go down here to Add Package. Add Package is going to give you 2 choices, this score 'em here, but we're going to go to, this is a web content, because like I said before, it was that HTML web page. Click on that. Now we're going to attach a file, and then we're going to go to that desktop. On my desktop, I want to be able to look and find that Science Test Practice Questions. Like I said, here's important. I mentioned about remembering what the name is, and it helps me that I can see the zipper on there, that this is a zip file. When I click OK, it's going to go inside. It's been uploaded, and I'm ready, and now submit. And we're done. So let's take a look and see what this thing looks like for the students. I'm going to go to the bottom here and see where this shows up. Science Test Practice Questions. This is what the kids will see when they click on this. Up now comes a frame that will show up, and this is that exact same thing that we saw. There's a space for their name. They do not need this because this is not going to get sent to you as the teacher. This is what's nice. This is only for them. They can take this practice test and all of those 25 questions, and like we can see here, because of the zip file, now all of those graphics go with it. There's that cell graphic for this particular question. Where's Mr. Pumpkin? He should be showing up here somewhere. There's our pumpkin one as well. So all of these are necessary. So let's say I answer these particular questions. That's A. This one's going to be B and C and so forth. And there's our last question. I didn't answer them all, so it's going to give me a little heads up. But on the bottom over here, this is what's great for the kids. Check your work. When they click on that, now it says you not answered all 21 questions. Are you sure you want to do this? Okay. And now it gives me feedback on these particular questions. Since I randomly guessed, I'm assuming I didn't do very well. Okay, we can see got it wrong, got it wrong, got it wrong. Okay, but even though I guessed 22 is A, right, the correct answer is D. And remember the rationale? This is what's nice in the Schoology piece that in the exam view. This is what the rationale gives you. Pumpkins and corn both belong to the plant kingdom, which means they make their own food by photosynthesis. Mushrooms are classified as fungi. Ah, I gotcha. That helps give us some feedback back, some rationale. And so that's why it's important, I think, in that exam view to have those turned on. So that's a great sort of tool that you guys can be able to use. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to you, and good luck.